Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. The more we look at the things that are happening out there, just did a show with Sheila Holmes. We both agreed that the midterms would not happen as scheduled. So the DC communist mayor that's about to be elected, the midterms basically a communist, another communist, looks like they're going to be elected as DC mayor. She wants to release, prisoners and, defund the police and all that stuff. And President Trump is like, no, that's not going to happen. And we see other people within the Republican Party are like, there's no way we're going to pass the SAVE Act, right? So we're not going to have elections until we fix all this. And so President Trump is probably more than likely going to push the midterms, cancel the midterms, and then push them into next year. All right. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. We'll look a little bit deeper into that. Now, the other things we're going to look at also is Iran it's heating up. They want to go full bore and produce a nuke so that they won't be pressured into any peace deals that they don't want to agree to. All right. So that's what they're saying. We'll go into that as well. Cali quake. Looks like it's coming, right? There's a slow slip that's happening. Thousands, like I think about 1,500, so probably moving towards a couple thousand different quakes, slow slip quakes, which are small quakes. Doesn't mean there's absolutely going to be a quake, but if you look at the pressure that's building on the San Andreas, they're saying that, for the last 1,000 years, the pressure's been building. So anyway, I think that's going to be pretty significant to see, things really move in the direction of another, deep, war with Iran, and then pushing the midterms because that's probably one of the excuses they'll use to push it, and then also during this time frame. A super big California earthquake, right? So it looks like it's coming. All right, so we'll look at all that. First of all, let's look at what Senator Tom Tillis is saying. He's a Republican from North Carolina. He is saying today that ensuring the voter eligibility Save America Act gets passed in the Senate is an impossible task. He says, I have people telling me I need to implement the SAVE Act immediately in North Carolina, in a state that has voter ID. So he has no, anything in this fight, right? So North Carolina's good, so he doesn't care about the rest of America, I guess, right? So it's typical of these Republicans. He then asked why, over the next 4 months, does he have to try to pursue the impossible task of implementing a bill that simply can't be implemented in that time frame? Why are we doing more things that undermine our confidence in elections? Because they're effed up, bonehead. Who elects these idiots? Come on, North Carolina. Rather than getting the strong message out that will win for Republicans. Yeah, like Republicans have won for the last 20 years. Yeah, freaking fool. Jesus Christ. How do we get stuck with these morons? All right, so speaking of morons, Janice Lewis George. Let me share the screen so we can all see what stupid looks like. All right. And this is a communist. All right. So Janice Lewis George won the Democratic primary for mayor of Washington, D.C., held earlier this week, according to a projection from the Associated Press on Thursday. Lewis George, a D.C. council member and Democratic socialist. Didn't we pass a law that we couldn't have communists here in the United States? What happened? Had 52.9% of the vote, as we did pass a law for no communism, Thursday afternoon, according to the Board of Election website. Her next closest competitor, former Ward 5 and at-large council member Kenyon McDuffie, had 36.4%. So that's probably not going to happen, right? Probably not going to happen. All right. So this is what President Donald John Trump said. Janice Lewis George, the communist who is almost certainly going to be elected mayor of Washington, D.C., has stated that she wants to empty the prisons, make D.C. a sanctuary city, oppose ICE, welcome criminal illegal aliens back into our beloved capital, resist anti-crime crackdowns, defund the police, continue and expand cashless bail, and so many other capital destroying things. In the end, it will never work out, nor will I let it even have a chance, because I have worked too hard to make Washington, D.C. the envy of the world, with almost no crime and a beautification process that has been second to none. I will meet with Janice Lewis George, but must forewarn everyone that Washington, D.C. is again a safe and prestigious community. Many people, including myself, have worked long and hard to get it there, and we will not let it be destroyed by a communist adherent who has no intention to make Washington great again. President Donald J. Trump. All right, so there you go. All right, so sounds like these midterms aren't going to happen, guys. All right, you got idiots that are saying it's not going to happen with the Save America Act. And that we need to just trust the system like we've trusted it, and conservatives have lost and lost and lost and lost. It's not going to happen, right? Now, if it does, there will be a war, right? We will not let it happen, and we will rise up and we will strike it down. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think that President Trump is well aware that we're fed up with this bullshit from the Democrat communists, and we're not going to let it happen, right? So to save America, if you can't pass the Save America Act, which is not going to happen, it sounds like, to save America, you're going to have to push that midterm. Going to have to be pushed, right? So that's what I anticipate, and I think we should already be planning for that and not get all butt hurt when it doesn't happen. Iran talks on hold after fighting breaks out, and Trump once again threatens annihilation. Talks to end the Iran war are reportedly on hold after the U.S. struck Iranian military targets in retaliation for Tehran's strikes on shipping vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. President Donald Trump said the U.S. may be forced to militarily complete the job that we very successfully started, adding that Iran will no longer exist if that happens. Now, it's not like he's going to completely annihilate all of Iran, nuke it to Kingdom Come. What he's going to do is take away what should have been never have allowed to have started 47 years ago, the takeover of Iran. So he's going to take out the government that controls Iran. Now, I've heard from other people that that will probably cause a civil war in Iran. And the Islamists have come into Iran, and they have a very firm stronghold in Iran. Of course, they have a stronghold in Palestine with Hamas. They have a very strong, group of radicals, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and throughout the Middle East. Yemen, they're fighting in Yemen. They're fighting, the radicals that are being supported by Iran. So, this is something that we can't let go forward. This radical Islamist group that's running Iran, they want to destroy the world, right? They want to destroy the world. So let's see what they're saying. And I'll bring this up as well, so we can all read it together, right? Iran is pushing must develop nuclear bomb to protect peace and calm. All right. Peace and calm. This is their logic behind this. Iran has no choice but to develop a nuclear bomb. A media outlet linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said the latest threat to the peace deal. Now, some could say that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard does not, run Iran. I think that would be false thinking, right? And they absolutely do, and they decide who's going to be in that position of government puppetry, right? So the article titled "No Choice But to Build the Atomic Bomb" claims that Iran must negotiate with its enemies from a position of strength, and was published by Iranian state news outlet Fars. Now, remember, this all started because Iran was developing the nuclear bomb. And so supposedly we bombed their nuclear facility to oblivion. And so they can't use, I don't think that's right, because during the time frame that we were doing the peace negotiation, they reestablished a lot of their forces, and we've started to bomb them again, right? So air defenses, rockets, and so forth. They've just recently rocketed Bahrain and another one of the countries. So it's pretty much accelerating back into full-on war. So yeah, we're going to have to annihilate them out of existence. To achieve the peace and calm that Iran needs, it must absolutely reach nuclear deterrence to ensure that the rest of the issues can be resolved through negotiation. So they compare Iran's situation to the U.S. with the U.S. to that of China in the 1970s, saying that America threatened China with nuclear attacks twice, similar to Trump's recent nuclear threats against Iran. But when did Kissinger secretly meet with the Chinese and then negotiate? It was when China built the atomic bomb. Nuclear deterrence means that you can reach a balance of power against America and Israel, who possess atomic bombs. Not so that war does not happen, but so that the scope of conflict remains controllable. So that kind of sounds, maybe, that's, there's a little bit of logic there, but no, there's no logic with terrorist guys, right? They will lie to you. They will manipulate you until they get to the point where they control everything, right? Kind of like the deep state, because Iran is a puppet of the deep state, right? So we have to annihilate them. And that's, the sooner we do that, the better at this point. So full on, we'll see, if this is gonna move forward. So let's look at other things that are starting to escalate. Iraq is going in and fighting because I guess Iran. I mean, when I was there back in 2003, it was Iran that was, doing the roadside bombs, improvised explosive devices. They were developing them and sending them over, and then they had their imams, their equivalent of a priest, motivating people to fight the Americans and the allies that were, working to bring peace to Iraq. It didn't work so much. So they've been at peace for quite some time, but now things are starting to thunder off again. And lo and behold, the Iranian influence within the government is causing problems. So what is the U.S. and that has supplied Iraq with all the munitions that they need? Well, those munitions are being used against these Iranians that have influence. The Iranian influence is coming to Iraq. So you're going to see some video here of where the tanks are rolling in the streets of Iraq once again, right? So we got to take them out. These guys are fomenting, this stuff all over the Middle East.
Into Iraq. This is absolutely insane. So overnight, the Iraqi military carried out operations to arrest Iraqi politicians that are aligned with Iran. A lot of Iraqi politicians are aligned with Iran. They allow Iranian militias to do whatever they want in Iraq. It's very destabilizing. Likely at the request of the U.S., the Iraqi military went in a covert operation, or I should say a surprise operation, to arrest these guys, and gunfire was ripping through the streets. It says several reports and videos are emerging.
So this is Baghdad's green zone, where I spent a lot of time, right? Protecting Ambassador Bremer, and then coming back again with CIA looking for weapons of mass destruction, and then coming back again several times throughout Iraq. So I've spent a lot of time, I would say over probably a 10-year period. I spent months and months, probably years, if you accumulate all the months that I spent in Iraq. I spent a lot of time there. And so I've talked to a lot of people over the years, a lot of CIA, a lot of experts and so forth. And the only way that this is going to stop is if the IRGC is eliminated, right? So all the Middle Eastern countries that I went to, Yemen, Lebanon, Beirut, Beirut, Lebanon. It was Iranians. Afghanistan, Iranians. I was in Herat, and the Iranians came in and started building embassy, and then we started having all kind of problems. We started having attacks and everything in that city. So it's crazy everywhere you go. It's Iranian influence that causes issues, causes problems, and so forth. So they have to be removed, and they have to be removed throughout the Middle East.
Extensive gunfire in Baghdad's green zone. This follows early reports that Iraqi security forces were attempting to arrest several politicians on corruption charges. So you can hear the gunfire in the streets as the Iraqi military trades fire with the Iraqi politicians and their security details, the ones loyal to Iran. Let's watch.
Now that's as intense, if not more intense, than at any time that I was in the green zone and in Baghdad. That's super intense gunfire.
So what you are hearing on your screen right now, what you are seeing is Iraqi Special Operations Forces in intense gunfights with the bodyguards of the Iranian-backed politicians they are looking to arrest and get rid of. This is amazing. Just tanks rolling down the street. You see vehicles coming in, more tanks. And here come the Humvees and other armored vehicles.
All right, so it's full on in Iraq. Now, in another area, France, not France, but Germany and France, yes, they're increasing their munitions on a massive scale. They're getting ready for war with Russia, right? Russia is getting ready for war with Europe, and so this world war that I said was coming is starting to click up. All right. It's starting to kick up quite a bit. So we'll see. You know, this could be another reason that we'll have to push the midterms into next year. So world war. We're going to have to go into Iraq and eliminate the IRGC completely. Probably going to cause a civil war. Israel's going to go into Lebanon and annihilate Hezbollah, because it's basically an arm of Iran, right? The same thing they did with Hamas in Palestine. They're going to have to just go in Gaza. They're just going to have to go in and completely annihilate them, right? So this is unfortunate. but this is the way it's got to be. Now, the reason why I think that President Trump, was trying to negotiate is because most Americans don't understand that this has to be done, right? They want the peace agreement to go forward, not realizing the peace agreement is not going to happen, right? It was never going to happen, right? President Trump was just trying to push this into past midterms. It's not going to happen. So it's not going to happen, here, and we're going to start to we're going to have to kick their ass, right? It is what it's going to be. Now, will we get any kind of resolution? Is there going to be like any pushback in some of these other states, that really want their communist Democrats to be elected? It's probably going to be some pushback, right? Now, some people, asked me about, what about Oregon? What about Washington? President Trump doesn't seem to, get involved in those states. It's kind of like triage, right? In a triage situation, which probably is happening in Venezuela, unfortunately, you take the people that are more likely going to survive, right? And you focus on them. And then those people that don't, unfortunately, have a chance to survive, well, you can't give them attention, right? So you guys on the West Coast, you've allowed things to get too far out of hand. Now, President Trump did back, some of the people that are trying to be voted in just recently in California. Steve Hilton still has somewhat of a chance. I don't think so, of being governor. We'll see. We'll see once California's destruction that's going to happen from the earthquakes, what happens with that. But then, the LA mayor, that was basically sabotaged. Now, is there exposure happening? Yes, there's exposure happening. And that could be, again, more reasons why the midterms won't happen when they start to release all of the criminal activity that happened in 2020. So there could be a bigger game plan, and it's a timing type thing. So lots of different things, I believe, are going to start to come, in over the next several months. Things are going to get really heated up in a lot of different areas. Take down the Federal Reserve, take down of the IRS, and more and more and more. So there's a lot of information out there about IRS guys. I guess they're trying to, come in and, make people fearful to pay their taxes and so forth. I know a lot of people have kind of moved away from that, right? So look at Scott McKay just did a show with a gentleman that talks about this, how the IRS is doing a big push to intimidate and push fear out there. So there are ways that you can negotiate not paying those taxes, right? It's a word game. So the IRS is no more than if someone came in and tried to hack you and steal your money or convince you to pay money and so forth. It's the same thing. They're just a criminal activity. And once you start to understand that, you start to see that that they really don't legally have the right to ask for your money. Then you can start to, if you're going to pay them, go pay them. It's okay. A lot of people pay criminals. So if you believe in that, or if you don't want to deal with the word game where you're going to have to go back to them and say yes or no or whatever, you're gonna have to play the game. So I'm not going to tell you how to play your game, right? You're going to have to do the research like many of us did. And I've had lots of people on that have talked about this over the years. So if you decide to pay your taxes, then, good. You're paying the criminals to stay in power. I say good, I'm being facetious, of course, but it's up to you whether you're going to do the research and find out that it's illegal activity, and you can stop it. It's a word game. So you have to do the right verbiage. And once they understand that you understand that they're friggin' thieves, then you're not going to be paying them, right? So it's up to you. So taxes are illegal. Everybody says that, and then people still pay them, right? It's like I said, this is one of the reasons why it's taking time. So a lot of people are like, when is Jaco going to happen? There's still criminals out there. There's still rapists out there. There's still all of this stuff out there. We're not going to like give money to everybody, right? We have to clean the place up first. Right? So, and until that happens, we're not going to like, give a, everybody gets, money. Everybody, no one has to pay for anything anymore. That works in a great society where, there's no more criminals. You're going to give money to everybody. What do you think the criminals are going to do? They're going to be like, dang, we got more money we can steal now. So it has to be, and the rapist is like, we can rape more children and more women and more, boys or whatever. So no, it's not going to happen. So you have to like start to work towards and think that things have to understand, not think, but understand that things have to get to a certain point before you can implement some of these other programs, right? So a lot of you are still paying taxes, right? So you're funding this evil government. And so some people are like, why does the President Trump just come out and stop it? Right? So it's a criminal activity that's had decades and decades and decades to infiltrate and build up walls of, people that support it. Like a lot of you are paying taxes. So that gives them funding. And then they have this judicial system that, supports coming after people that don't pay their taxes, and on and on and on. So you are going to continue to pay taxes until we figure out that you don't have to, right? We, the people, all right? So me, and a lot of people have been trying to inform everyone of how to work around this, right? And it's not a workaround. It's basically standing up to like corruption and the manipulation and so forth. So yes, there's going to be people that are going to convince you that you still have to pay your taxes, just like there were a lot of people that convinced people to get a shot, right? The COVID shot. 70% of Americans, probably 70% of Americans still pay their taxes. I don't know what the numbers are. So you got to figure it out, guys. All right. So what's going on? If we're going back to war, what's going to happen with the stock market? That remains to be seen. Right now, it looks like Bitcoin's down. Precious metals are, kind of like up and down. They're not getting hammered, but they could get pushed lower. U.S. oil was down below 70. Now it's back above $70 a barrel. About the same price as it was before the war with Iran started, right? The dollar looks like it's down slightly. So it's back and forth as well. Dollar goes up during times of confusion. And, the dollar's been under pressure for a long time. And it's like, maybe it's like pop because it's oversold. I don't know. We'll have to see. But going forward, if the dollar goes up, then you're going to see problems with the stock market and problems with the precious metals. Problems meaning they're going to go down, both of them. All right, so the dollar going up means that interest rates are possibly going up. Interest rates go up, it strengthens the dollar. So a lot of people think that Warsh, the new Fed chair, is going to raise rates. I don't think so. I don't believe he will. He should have lowered the rates, this last time. Will he lower the rates next time? I don't know. Right. So, these people come in and they promise and they don't deliver. It's pretty typical. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. If the only thing that would, cause him to lower rates is if the stock market massively crashes. I don't see that. It might pull back, but it has to reach another new all-time high. So we had a all-time high back in 1929 when the stock market crashed, almost 100 years ago now. And these stock markets are in cycles, just like everything else in life, just like the seasons. So we saw, .com bust. We saw the 2008 bust, right? 2008 .com, around that era right there, there was an all-time high in the stock market. And we haven't reached that all-time high and gone beyond that yet. So these things happen in threes. So we'll see at some point, we might see another pullback, or we might see the stock market go ahead and take off if President Trump and Iran decide, yeah, we're going to negotiate again. Right. So and just kick this can down the road. Prices for oil will collapse more, and we'll see the dollar collapse, bond prices, collapse or whatever. So we'll see. Once we see that, we're going to see the stock market take off again, and we'll see silver take off, and so forth. But the way things are going back and forth right now, back and forth, it's not going to happen. Now, will President Trump on July 4th, go back to a gold standard? There's a lot of people that are pointing out that there are people that are betting in future prices, out to December, $15,000 and $20,000 gold, right? So sounds like there might be some people in the know about, something that's coming. Now, if we see $15,000, $20,000 gold, we're going to see $500 or more silver, right? So it's very interesting. Now, if that happens, that's probably a determining factor that the Fed is going to be dead, right? So that's going to lead to a lot of mayhem, because the deep state is not going to like that. Yeah, they're not going to like that at all, right? So it's going to be very, very dramatic. So now let's look at dramatic as far as it's like there's more. Of course, there's a lot more. I'm just covering a few subjects. Now let's look at the slow slip that's happening over in the Cascadia fault line. The Cascadia fault line goes, it will, like I've been saying before this year started, I said that we would probably see a domino effect in the fault lines in California, right? The Cascadia and probably the Madrid, not the Madrid, the what's the one in California, the whatever it is. So it'll be mentioned in a minute, or I'll remember. All right, so San Andreas. So we will see absolutely at some point, right? I think it's very close. We will see California, we'll see one of these faults go. Now, will we see the big one? We'll see a pretty significant one. And when I say significant, 7, 8, somewhere around in there, but not the big one yet, right? I think the big one's next year. I think the big one, 9.2 is what I get. So as you can imagine, 9.2 is going to shake things up really big time. Now, could the 9.2 come in sooner? Absolutely. We're seeing lots of energy that is coming off the sun again. We're seeing sunspots that are coming in. It looks like that might, give us some problems. Now, one of the bigger things that I've watched and I've noticed for a long time is that when we have sunspot activity actually decrease, which is what we've had since 2025, and that's when we started having lots more volcanic activity, more earthquake activity. It allows, because sunspot activity actually protects to a certain extent, creates energy in the earth that protects it. And when that decreases, that allows energy from the solar, from the greater, center of the galaxy to come through. And that's when usually things get crazy, right, here on Earth. And I think that's the period we're moving into now.
Here real quick with the Cascadia subduction zone. And man, do we have a big uptick going on here. 734 spikes. Well, these are tremor counts. slow slip events that are occurring way deep into the Cascadia subduction zone. And what this tells us, and what everyone should be advised of, is that this is further stressing the locked area of the Cascadia subduction zone. Obviously, we've seen, throughout time here, tremor counts are a fairly new study when it comes to monitoring activity along a subduction zone, such as the Cascadia. But we've seen, a number of elevated events here throughout the years. But, each session here, each time we get elevated tremor counts here, that just brings us very closer to seeing a big earthquake out there, because that obviously adds further stress across the more shallow locked area. That's where you get the big mega quakes out there, and also partial ruptures. The majority of those 734 tremors are down here across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. So that's today. Within the last week here, let's get a total tally for that. We've got, let's give it a second, see if it's going to load here, hopefully. Oh, yeah, there we go. 2,634. That's a pretty big uptick. And a little bit underneath Seattle. But the majority of that happening underneath southern coast of Oregon and northern California. So the extreme southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. And of course, that is where we have our highest possibility there of seeing a large earthquake within the next 50 years. About a 37 to 42% chance of seeing a mega quake down there. For the northern area of the Cascadia, about a 7 to 12%. And the reason why that is because of the dynamics here of the Cascadia subduction zone. There's more stress as far as slip rate goes down here across the southern end. We got the Blanco fracture zone here. That adds further stress down here in this location. The Gorda Ridges, it's a spreading seafloor center that further stresses this area of the southern end. So we do normally see partial ruptures here of big earthquakes in between the main events. The main events take a little bit longer. I'm really not thinking that we'll see a big full margin Cascadia event out here, but it's possible. You just never know. But my observations here are eyeballing the southern end here. This little portion, southern coast of Oregon into northern California there for a big earthquake. It happens in between these big events, and we have yet to have one. So we're building up strain out there. A lot of stress and strain. No earthquake activity occurring out there right now, but man, the tremor counts are way elevated. And, we're going up. This is not something we've seen here since, let's see, we had a big spike back earlier this year. And as you can see, it's going up here on this chart. This is the yearly chart. I'm looking at these spikes right here. We're going to match, or we'll see. Maybe we'll exceed the previous level there back in April or March there of this year. But as far as this double event here, I'm trying to think if we've seen 7 when the last big one happened here, 7.9. So we're looking at 169 years of built up stress and strain, 300 years for the extreme southern end. So this is great. This is, I wouldn't want to go jumping on the fault right now. I do think it's very close here. Man, the West Coast just in general out here, Cascadia and the San Andreas Fault, we're living in the future, folks, 2026. It's not like this earthquake activity happened 50 years ago where we can relax and enjoy our lives out here, right? Well, you should do that anyway. But you get what I'm saying? We're living towards the end of that chapter here where quiet periods are probably coming to an end out here. So.
All right. So this is the Earthmaster. The Earthmaster had one. You can go look him up. He had one, I think maybe yesterday, the day before, where he was talking. He was basically bringing in the science of the slow slip, and the slow slip does often lead to bigger earthquakes. So not always, but often. And the way that we've been seeing the uptick in earthquake activity throughout the globe, and now we have sunspot activity, and we have solar flares, and all that's basically coming, and the full moon. All right, so it's looking like something's about to give, right? And that could be one of those fault zones in California. All right, so as you saw, all the way down to the Los Angeles area, it's, you know, lots of 300 years or so of buildup. It's not normal. So you don't usually have long periods of time. Usually within 50 years or so, you're going to have the really, really big quakes, you know, the 7s, the 8s, and then the 9s. So I don't know if, you know, the fault zones will give us a 9 in San Andreas. I don't know if we're going to get one that big, but at the top end of that, or the bottom end of the Cascadia, I believe very seriously, I believe very strongly, at some point we're going to get a 9.2 there. So when we see 5.6, like we just saw, that could be a precursor to bigger earthquakes, just like we've seen recently in some other areas. So this seems like it's starting to you know, increase in activity, and that's because we're not getting the solar activity. We're going into solar minimum, and the solar minimum, like I said, usually leads to much bigger quakes. So let's look at Stefan Burns. He goes into a little bit of what to do, how to prepare. Like right now, I'm in California. I did an event here with LifeWave where we discussed, you know, the future of LifeWave. It's one of the fastest. It is the fastest growing, you know, business of its kind in history, and it is like number 11 right now. So it's moved up very, very rapidly, and it's a biotech company that's basically bringing you know, incredible benefits to humanity, not just with the patches, but also with the income potential that's really, really accelerating for a lot of people that get involved. And we look forward to more of you in my group to get involved. And our group has been growing very rapidly, very successful in our group. And we look forward to more of you. And if you're like me, if you're, you know, someone that is, you know, has a lot of a huge audience and can influence a lot of people, we really look forward to you get involved with us, and we'll help you out, help you build a big business, right? And the rest of you, anyone that wants to come in, it's very easy to build an income. I won't say very easy. It does take work, and it does take, you know, focus, and it does learning the system and so forth. But a lot of people are like coming in and, you know, earning income fairly soon. You know, you build 2 people on your right, and 1 person on your left. That's somebody that's buying, you know, patches, $99 a month or so, and that's the X39. And then you're off and running. All right, so that's a potential going forward. I come to these events, I see the top people, we converse, and it's very, very exciting time. In 2033, we'll see, at the rate we're moving, we'll see $1 billion a day that's going to be made in multi-level marketing companies. And that's the future, because our economy is breaking apart. Our economy is failing us, right? So we need to move into activities that will support us and help us grow and help us continue. All right, so let's look at what Stefan Burns has. He's definitely doing, you know, great work. Love his work, the way he brings in a lot of different things. He brings in the, you know, not just the geography, you know, the fault zones and so forth, but he's also looking at time, you know, throughout history, historical, you know, events that have happened with earthquakes and volcanoes and tsunamis and so forth. And he looks at the sun, and he looks at the planets and the moon and so forth, and how those all, as they line up, every one of those, as they line up, they can kick off some serious activity. And if you're caught, if I were to be caught in this California quake that I'm predicting is going to come in this high rise that I'm in, hotel, then I know where to go and what to do, right? In the worst case scenario. This is a very well built, as you know, I've been looking at it, hotel. And I don't think that it will suffer massive damage unless, we get a very, very massive earthquake. And, maybe some glass will break and maybe things will shake around and things will fall off the walls and cabinets or whatever. But overall, I think, some of these buildings in California, because they've really had really rigorous building codes, like Japan, because it's in a fault zone. So the building codes have been, more aggressive as far as, building and making your building safe so it doesn't fall down on everybody during earthquake. So, but if you are in an earthquake, here's great advice.
To prepare for an earthquake is you want to make sure that you have a disaster plan in place. If you are at work, you want to know where you need to go to get safe. If you're at home, same thing. So the moment you start to feel shaking and or you get an alert that an earthquake is coming in, you want to get outside, away from tall buildings, objects, and trees, if that's possible. If not, you want to take shelter under.
Now you see a lot of people, these videos that you see where the building starts to shake and people are like, well, what do I do? I'm up and I'm moving, right? And the last one that we felt a few months ago that happened in Nevada, it shook our home in Lake Tahoe. So we're up at, both of us are up and moving, right? We're moving for the door. And so you need to be mentally prepared. So a lot of people aren't mentally prepared. They get caught in, it's like a deer in a headlight type thing. They just freeze. So you need to mentally prepare. It's like when I used to teach the hand-to-hand program. If you got hammered, right? It's not like, oh, I just got hammered and then I'm messed up. You can't think that. You have to like continue if you want to survive. All right. So if something your building is falling apart and things are falling all around you, it's time to get the hell out. All right. Or get under a desk or get between a door, in between in a door frame where things are, built a little stronger. So you got to think through these things. You got to already have a plan where your exit is and so forth.
Let's say a strong table, or if you don't even have that option, under a door frame. You want to cover your head, use your back to protect your front, curl up. And these are some basic things you can do during the earthquake. They have these apps that can give advance warning for big earthquakes. It depends on your distance from the epicenter where the earthquake actually ruptures. But because there are 3 types of seismic energy released from an earthquake, you have P waves, S waves, and surface waves. That compressional P wave is the fastest. It's also the weakest. So it just does a little jolt, but it's enough for people to get a heads up as to, okay, an earthquake is coming. These cell phones or different devices record these P waves, send out an alert, and that can give you 5, 10, 15 seconds, which is enough time if you act quickly to grab a loved one, maybe grab a pet, or just to get yourself out of a dangerous location. For example, these high-rise buildings in Venezuela that were built to subpar construction standards and earthquake seismic standards. You also want to make sure you have some food and water available, like survival rations, effectively. Maybe put it all in a bag. It's called a bug out bag. So something you can grab by the door, have like some slip-on shoes always ready by the door. So you can just quickly put your feet in the slip-ons and run out. A hand crank radio is going to be a good idea. And they even sell these folding solar panels now that can be attached to a little battery. And maybe you have a cooking element there. So now you can have a little bit of something to charge your phone, something to charge maybe the radio, or again, it could be a hand crank radio, a light, and then even something to help boil water, cook food. These are all good things to have. Maybe an emergency blanket, a jacket, some basic stuff like this. First aid kit, this is what you want to have on hand. Now, Venezuela basically is a sign of what can occur. And this was an extremely destructive earthquake. But we see that these happen every now and then. I mean, it happened also back in 2023 in Turkey, very similar. It was a magnitude 7.8 followed up by a magnitude 7.5 on a major strike slip boundary. What you have to consider with these big earthquakes is how the energy propagates out across the entire globe. it doesn't just dissipate in the immediate area, though a lot of the energy does. You actually have the surface waves propagating out across the entire globe and circumnavigating the globe multiple times. And what is to be really worried about, I would say right now, would be Japan, because of all these earthquakes that we've been having in Japan, indicative perhaps of something bigger coming. Also, California, the stress along the San Andreas Fault is at some of the highest levels we've ever seen, based off of historic earthquake data and modeling that they're doing of the strain rates and the accumulation. Also, I would think New Madrid is potentially in the crosshairs because of that connection in time between Venezuela and New Madrid. Same with Southern California. Colombia also being so close to Venezuela and having some pretty big faults there could have some significant activity, mid-magnitude 6, perhaps even magnitude 7. And there are other locations as well. We have New Zealand, that its Alpine Fault has a reoccurrence interval of about 300 years. Its last big earthquake was 1717. So it's ready to go. We just don't know when. So the key thing to keep in mind is that there's nothing that we can do to stop earthquakes. But if we live in an earthquake-prone zone, we need to be prepared. So get some basic supplies. Have what we call a bug-out bag. So you can just.
All right. So, yeah, we're seeing the earthquakes are going to increase, right? And they're going to increase into next year. And we'll have to look at next year. If we get the really, 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 really big ones next year, then maybe we'll have reached a peak. But I'm seeing, we're going to get some we're going to see a lot of people that are going to perish this year, right? In New York, you're just talking about the New Madrid fault zone. So on the East Coast, a lot of same thing. You haven't seen an earthquake in a long time. You think it's not going to happen anymore, right? So it's been a while. And so New York, I think New York, because you guys are really messed up in New York. Okay. You guys are going to get hit too. All right. So I talked about in one of my last shows about consciousness. Everything's about consciousness. So if you're not in, if you're in a state that's really messed up conscious wise, like if you're electing a communist, which is the worst form of government there is, you're going to attract some pretty negative events, right? So it's pretty much that way all up and down the West Coast, right? And like I said, President Trump is not going to, put his energy or the energy of those of us that are trying to help humanity into areas that are extremely corrupt, right? It's just not going to happen. And you have to save what you can save. So that's what we're going to see. So you guys are in some of those locations, vigilantism, I don't know. So it's coming. I've been talking about it. I'm not joking around here. I'm not promoting it by any stretch of the imagination. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But if everything's failing, you're gonna have to step up. It's just the way it is. All right, guys. Recent earthquakes, man-made, I believe so. Now, faults do trigger over time. And as we're seeing, if energy comes in from the sun and so forth, you can trigger earthquakes that are, stress that's starting to happen. I've heard that the Japan fault back in 2011 or so, I think that's when it was, Fukushima and all that stuff. I remember I came on to Facebook and I said, I think that nuclear plant is going to give off a lot of radiation. And then people are coming in and saying, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're so effed up. And who are you? You think you know so much? They took their comments off later. Yeah. So I think we're in for some more. I think we're in for a lot more throughout the world. And it'll be surprising some of the places where we're going to see earthquake, volcanic, and tsunami activity. But this year we're not even halfway done. And it's starting to ramp. right? So we're going to go throughout the rest of this year. There's going to be something extremely major, I believe, with, you know, we're going to look at Venezuela, which is looking like maybe they're saying, you know, upwards of 69, almost 70,000 are missing right now. I don't think it's going to be that many. I think it'll be kind of closer to what I predicted, and which did happen with Turkey, where you had 20,000. I think it'd be closer to that, but I wouldn't be surprised really if it's more, because a lot of people were in those buildings that collapsed. A lot of people, because it was pretty much a holiday. What a great time to if you're going to, like, you know, create an earthquake in an area. Everybody's home on a holiday, and that's when it strikes. Now, the thing that would have made it even more devastating, which I think could happen with California, unfortunately, is it's going to happen sometime very, very early in the morning, right? So we'll see. So if the house is shaking, just have a plan, you know, jump up and get out, and you know, get that go bag or whatever. I've done a lot of planning for you know, these events. I had all kind of stuff ready for a hurricane event in Florida, and all the stuff that I had, you know, I thought I was in a good building, and it flooded, like 5 feet up into the building, and all of that stuff that I had in the first floor was lost. So all the supplies and everything gone. So that's another thing to consider if you're in an earthquake zone and you have supplies and so forth in your house, which where else were you going to put it? You might want to think about, if you have an outdoor shed or something like that, you might want to put a lot of supplies out there, because that will, even if it falls apart, you're still going to have the supplies out there. So, you know, think larger term like that. Of course, we still had supplies, and we were able to get supplies, and some of those supplies were in containers that, you know, were good even with the flooding. But you got to take everything into account. So I got a lot of stuff. You know, I got more stuff, survival stuff, of course. But if there's an earthquake in the house that I'm in, and, you know, just falls apart, then I'm going to be digging that stuff out. It's, you know, probably not going to happen, right? Unless you got the problem is, when in Venezuela, they didn't have, you know, bulldozers and all, you know, backhoes and all that kind of stuff on the level, because it's a communist country and the place has been falling apart for decades, right? So, you know, and the people that make things happen left. They're gone. Kind of like what's happening in California, right? So now in this area that I'm in, I'm not going to say where it's at, but this is a very beautiful area. I've driven around, you know, I was out in an electric boat today. It was the first time I was ever electric boat. I was like, what can electric boat? Are you kidding me? But it was a great boat. It was quiet, moved about 5 knots, which was max speed. But that's great in the Bay Area that we're in. So, you know, some of these, and if you have solar, you know, you can power up your boat and move around and, you know, deliver foods to your, you know, neighbors that, you know, have gone through an earthquake. Their buildings have collapsed or whatever, and they're sleeping out in the lawn. So there's lots of, you know, ways to help people. Earthquakes, unless you get a tsunami, aren't going to hurt boats. Right. We've had guys out in the boats, SEALs, when I was in the SEAL teams. And I remember being in a condo that overlooked Glorieta Bay. It was a beautiful condo. And it shook pretty good. I was taking a nap, you know, during the day. I'd been working several days in a row. And so I went home. I got off from work, from SEAL teams, after, you know, I think we're doing jumps or something like that with the boats, and we're like diving, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I got off and I was taking a nap at home, and the bed started shaking, right? So I was up and I was out. I was out of that house. And I found out later that some of the guys were out diving, and the guys on the surface in the boat were like, you know, it was nothing. There's nothing going on. And then the guys that were diving started coming up. They came up, you know, and the guys in the boat like, what are you guys doing? Why'd you come up? And they're like, we thought there was like a huge tugboat that went over the top of us. And so we're getting thrashed around in the water. So that wave went through the water and it thrashed everything in the water, right? It didn't cause damage on the shore or anything. It didn't cause damage to the boats, but in the water itself, the energy went through the water and shook those guys up pretty hard. Didn't hurt them, but you know, they were shook up pretty good. And so you never know how these energy waves are going to happen, right? So and I remember being in San Diego when the Northridge quake happened, which was a big one, and it shook us down to San, and that happened early in the morning. And I remember I was bartending on the side, and I came home and I'm in bed and it shook really good. And I was ready to go, but it stopped. It was a quick one, right? Because we were like, I don't know, hundreds of miles away from where it originated. So it just, you know, as it goes out, the energy starts to dissipate, you know, closer to the center where it happens. Of course, it's going to like wreak havoc. So I was like, wow, that was crazy. Then I like went back to sleep. And then the next shock came and woke me up. I was like, wow, how many of these are going to go through? Oh, that was it. So there's 2 big quakes in Northridge. And, you know, it's been a while since we had pretty good size earthquake in Cali. So it's overdue, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen this year. Will this be the big year? Yes. I don't know. I don't think this year is going to be the big one, but I think a big one's coming, right? Probably Northern California, probably cook off some of the other fault zones. So we'll see. Cascadia, and then San Andreas, and then there's the Hayward fault. I don't think the Hayward fault gets triggered this time, but there's going to be a bigger one, I think. So these can take a year. You'll have a pre-quake, and up to a year later is when the major quake happens, right? So I think we're going to get a pretty significant pre-quake this year in California, which will be devastating. And then next year will be, I think, the really big one. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, New Madrid, that could trigger too. I don't know about this year, though. I think next year. But, you know, the energies are coming in, and they're gonna create some havoc. So you got to be ready. Pole ship possible, or New Madrid in the next 20 years? No, it's going to be a lot sooner than that. Like within the next year or two. So pole shift, you know, the pole's moving. I don't know about the pole shift. We'll see. I'm not getting that yet. There's a lot of talk about it. I think that's further out. If there's going to be a pole shift, it's going to be a little bit further out, maybe 3-4 years. But we're definitely going to get rocked, right, around the world. A lot of canned meats, chicken, beef, pork, turkey, etc. Again, you can have all that, you know, ready to go, and then the building collapses all on that stuff. So again, you know, you have to have ideally a bug out bag, and then pull that with you. You know, have it in the garage. With me, I just hope that if we get a big one and I'm home, that I can get that garage door open and get my car out before the whole thing comes down. But if it, you know, if it just shakes real hard, I'm good. I can, you know, get my car out. I'm good. And then if everything collapses, it collapses. You know, I got all kinds of stuff. And probably should. So I have a storage place, which, you know, it's not going to be a big deal. that place is not going to, you know, cause a lot of damage in that place. So I have stuff in the storage. So that could be another thing you do. If you have stuff in a storage, which is like, you know, multi-level, that's not good, right? Not an earthquake. But if you have a storage in, you know, one of those things where you drive up and it's like some kind of, you know, tin type, you know, metal, everything's metal. That's probably, I think that would probably be good. And I might even look into, you know, doing something like that and putting a lot of stuff in something like that. So you need to have different options, I think, going forward. Just think about, you know, where you would have stuff. If, you know, the storage place, you know, there's a big earthquake and people are, you know, knocked out or gone or whatever, in the storage building, you know, the owners, whatever, they run back to the house. They don't care about everybody's stuff, you know? So they leave the gate locked or whatever. You got to get your stuff, you know. So you got to look at other things, other options. If the storage place, you can't have access to it, you know. So just think bigger term. You know, I think that having, if you got some land, you got a little bit of land and you can have a storage shed, that's probably the best place, right? To have for earthquake. I'm talking Cali. And then New Madrid, maybe you guys need to start looking at that too. New York, whatever, right? Whatever. All right, guys, lots of love, stay in the love vibration, and I'll see you guys next time.